Hello, welcome along to the greatest podcast in the universe, the only one that really helps you search the solar system. It's a brand new Fun Kids Science Weekly. My name is Dan. Let's search out some science secrets, shall we? This week we're heading into space. Have you ever wondered what's on the menu as you float through the galaxy? We find out with a real-life astronaut.
We try to keep it as similar to the kind of food that we're eating here on Earth. So yeah, it could be a spaghetti bolognese that's been dehydrated, or that's in a tin and you just have to warm it up and open up the tin.
Also, you can hear what would happen if the sun disappeared, and we investigate a killer fungus which strikes at sunset.
And one of the most amazing things about this system is not just the fungus kills flies, but it actually turns them into zombies before the flies die.
It's all on the way in a brand new Fun Kids Science Weekly. Let's start off with your science in the news, and Professor Michele Dougherty has been appointed the UK's Astronomer Royal. She's the first woman to hold the title in the job's 350-year history. That job is to advise King Charles III on astronomical news. She's the Astronomer Royal, and she's also part of the team sending probes to the moons of Jupiter. Michele says that she wants to inspire more women and girls to study science, which is a brilliant plan. Part of her job is to talk to the king, who's very interested in all kinds of stuff. I do know that about astronomy and what's happening through the universe. Also this week, a new satellite has launched to keep an eye on Earth, detecting the smallest changes in how the land and sea looks. It's a joint mission by NASA from America and the Indian space agency ISRO, and what they'll find will help the world plan and deal with future disasters. It went up on Wednesday from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in South India, and it's a brilliant moment of countries coming together to solve the world's problems. We hear a lot about how loads of countries aren't getting on, but with space and with the future of the planet and with science and technology, often we do pull together. And I think that's really brilliant. And our final story this week, the UK is due to have a wasp-filled summer. Many of the buzzing beasts are back across the country. Shall we find out why? James Horsey is from the British Pest Control Association. John, thank you for joining us. When I've been reading about the wasps, it says that they're back. That means they've been somewhere. Have they gone anywhere? Have there been lower numbers in the last few years?
Yeah, so we seem to have a cycle where every few years we'll have a sort of a good year. It doesn't become, crazy that we have loads of them. It's just a good year for them. And the last couple of years has been quite quiet. And then this year, probably because of the sort of dry, warm springs, the survival rate's been quite good. So they've had a good year this year.
How early on in the year will you start to get a sense that, we're getting more wasps?
We sort of know by the weather pattern. So if it's, say, warm and dry in March, April time, you can start to determine that wasps are going to start coming out in numbers. And that tends to be when we sort of get an idea as to what the year is going to look like.
Now, many of us can be quite panicked about wasps through the summer when we're at barbecues or whatever, and then they're kind of buzzing around. They won't leave us alone. Why are they always there? What are they doing? What are they looking for?
So early in the season, up until July, August time, they're mainly feeding on insects. So they're not really causing us a problem. And then from that July period, the nest will actually change and the workers will start sweet feeding because they actually get that food source from the nest originally. And once that change happens, they're then looking for a sweet food source. And that's when they start looking for, sweet drinks and foods that we're leaving around.
Now, what can we do at home to try and deal with this ourselves?
Yeah, so things like using bottles. So instead of having a can of a drink or a glass that's open, use a bottle that you can close. That will stop the wasps actually being able to get in there and stop them finding a food source. Don't leave food lying around. So try not to leave any food sources that they can actually feed on. Wasps will commonly feed on the same place. So if you've got like a table out in your back garden, your table's in that same place, they'll learn a pattern that there may be food there. So they'll just return to that source looking to see if there's food there. So if you don't leave food out, they're less likely to become a problem.
Now, we get, as I say, a bit freaked out by wasps, but they must have a place in the ecosystem. If we were to get rid of them, would other beasts and other animals see the effect? Might we see the effect on the food that we can eat too? Are they doing any good?
Yeah, so initially the queen will pollinate plants, so she's mainly feeding on pollen around that April time. Then when she starts to create a nest, the larvae will actually feed on insects, so the workers will go out, collect insects, and then feed them back to the larvae. The larvae then excrete a sweet substance which feeds the adults, because the adults can't actually feed off solids, they only drink liquids. So in that early part of the season, the workers will collect, and it's estimated somewhere around 4 to 5 metric tons of insects to feed a colony as it's being produced. So they are beneficial in that aspect, that they're pollinating plants early on, but they're also naturally controlling insects that, things like mosquitoes that also causes the problem that we don't like. Wasps will naturally predate on them and feed that back to the nest as the nest grows.
And looking to the future, there have been more this year because we've had quite a dry spring and summer. With the climate crisis, with our world seeming to be warmer and we're getting hotter summers, is this... will we see many, many more wasps every summer now, do we think?
We don't tend to get massive influxes. It's either there are very few wasps or there is the sort of normal amount that we seem on, say a good year. We don't have like plagues where it's just going to appear we've got loads of wasps. So this, although is a good year, next year it could be different again. I've been doing this sort of 15, 16 years, and it seems to be every 3 to 5 years we have a year like this. And then the rest of the time, the numbers are reduced. Last year was quite a bad year where we had very few wasp nests. So they do seem to go in cycles. But yeah, as it warms up, we're not going to get much more than we have now. It will kind of settle itself down with the weather patterns.
Well, there we go. That's why we might see more wasps this year, John Horsley. Thank you for joining us. Let's get to your questions then. If you have anything sciencey that you want answered on the podcast, make sure you leave it as a voice note for me, so I can do the digging, I can play it out, you can star on the show and get your question answered. You can do that over on the Fun Kids app or at funkidslive.com. Here's a question sent in from Etta as a message. What would happen if the sun disappeared? Etta, love all of the questions that you send over. And you've got loads. I'm always a fan of answering them. What would happen if the sun disappeared? Well, it would be fine, as normal, for about 8 minutes. After that, we would feel the effects. You see, it's the sun gravity that keeps us in orbit as we travel around it. Gravity travels at the speed of light. It would take around 8 minutes for a beam of light to travel from the sun to us on Earth. So after that, after 8 minutes, all the sunlight would go, it would be dark, and the gravity would be over. The Earth would fly off in a straight line. We'd have nowhere to hook around, nothing to orbit. Suddenly we would be zooming somewhere strange through space. Also, without the sun's energy, temperatures would drop. They would plummet so quickly. Within a week, it would fall to minus 17 degrees C. In the UK right now, it's about 20 degrees C, so that helps you understand how cold it would get, minus 70 degrees C. In a year, it would go to minus 73 degrees. All the plants would die because they need the sun's light for photosynthesis to make energy. So they'd go, and then without plants, there'd be no animals because all of them need plants to eat. So the food chain would absolutely collapse. The oceans would freeze from the top down. The bottom might stay all right for quite a long time, way down deep, because it's very cold anyway. But the oceans would freeze from the top down. The only way us humans could survive is through artificial technology. Underground bunkers, maybe. Heated up. Food that we create ourselves. So, Etta, it wouldn't be good. The entire solar system would be thrown out of orbit with planets flying in all directions, and our Earth would become a rogue planet, simply drifting through space. That sounds like a brilliant idea for a movie. Etta, thank you for the question. Let's get on another one, shall we? This is a voice note. Who have we got? Hello, Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm 9 years old. I'm from London, and my question is, why do astronauts have to have space food?
Sean, thank you so much for this question. Why do astronauts need space food? Why do they need it? What's it like? What does it look like? Should we get the whole thing to sort this out? We've got an actual astronaut on. European Space Agency Reserve astronaut Meganne Christian is with us. Meganne, thank you for being there. Have you eaten space food before?
I have not yet had the chance to eat space food, but I do know a fair bit about it, so I think I can answer this question.
Amazing. Well, Sean wants to know, why do astronauts need space food? Can you tell us why?
Yeah, there are a number of different reasons, but the main one is that when you take anything to space, it has to take up as small amount of space and as less weight as possible, because, if you're sending more things up into space, that means it's heavier and you need more fuel to be able to get it off the ground. So the easiest way of doing that is removing the water. So you dehydrate the food. And that means that the food that you send up to the space station is a little bit different. It means that there's water removed from it and you add the water back in when you get back into space. Also, it has to have a really long lifetime because you only get missions going, cargo missions, taking things up to the space station every few months. So the food needs to be able to last for a long time. It's like the long life food that you might have in your cupboard.
Now, Meganne, is it food, it's dehydrated, so there's no water in it, but is it food that we might have in the cupboard? Is it a spaghetti bolognese without any of the water? Is it a slice of toast without any of the water? Or is it food that has been made so it works better when you add water later?
It's a little bit a combination of both, but we try to keep it as similar to the kind of food that we're eating here on Earth. So yeah, it could be a spaghetti bolognese that's been dehydrated, or that's in a tin and you just have to warm it up and open up the tin. One of the key things is that it has to be sticky. It can't be crumbly. So you can't have normal bread, because if you're biting into a piece of bread or a cracker, then those crumbs could just kind of fly everywhere in that weightless environment. So it needs to be something sticky that can stick to the packet and then stick to your fork when you get it out of the packet to eat.
I know that astronauts are busy with loads of jobs and doing loads of tests up on the International Space Station. Do they have normal meal times? Will they have breakfast, lunch and dinner together? Are you kind of always eating on the go?
There are set meal times. Astronauts will always have dinner together where they can. I mean, the schedule doesn't always allow it. Usually breakfast and lunch. Well, breakfast tends to be together as well, but lunch might be sort of at any time of the day. But it's also really important to have those moments together to keep up that morale.
And because the food needs to, I think, be really efficient, because it needs to keep astronauts fit and healthy, so it's jam-packed full of nutrients. Will we see any kind of junk food that's been prepared for treats up in space?
There's not a lot of junk food, but there can be treats now and then. You can have a chocolate bar now and then, because again, that's another thing that helps to keep up morale. But the key thing is to make sure that astronauts are getting enough nutrients when they're there on the station, and enough calories, because you're expending a lot of energy, and so you need to have a good amount of nutrients and a good amount of calories.
Now, Meganne, you're part of the astronaut reserve. If you ever got the chance to go up to space, what food would you really want from home that could be flat packed, that could be dehydrated, and then you could enjoy it when you're up there?
One of my favorite types of food is Thai food, and I think that would be quite good on the International Space Station, because interestingly, your taste buds tend to taste things a little bit differently when you're in space, and so you need to have flavors that are really strong, and so that nice spicy food from Thailand would be it for me.
Is it the higher we go, the more our taste buds change? I know that plain food is often really quite salty because it's the only way we can taste anything up there. Is that what's happening on the space station too?
It's similar, and I don't think it's completely well understood, but one of the reasons for this is that when you go into these different kinds of environments, you get a shift in the fluids in your body, and particularly in weightlessness, instead of the gravity pulling all the blood down towards your feet, you don't have that anymore. So you often feel like you are quite congested. You have kind of a cold. And if you think about it, when you have a cold, you can't taste things as well. So that's one of the reasons why on the space station that you can't taste the foods as well. And even when you're on an aeroplane, you tend to feel a bit congested. So maybe it has something to do with it as well.
Well, Sean, that's why astronauts need space food. All those questions and loads more beside. Thank you so much to Meganne Christian for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Sean, thank you for your question, and thank you for helping us discover why astronauts need space food. If you have anything sciencey that you want answered on the podcast, make sure you send it as a voice note to me on the free Fun Kids app and at funkidslive.com. I've really enjoyed saying hello to you on the Fun Kids Science Weekly live tour. We've been all over the UK, to Nottingham, to Sheffield, Guildford, Southend, Cambridge, and so many of you have come out to say hello, and so excited to hold the meteorite as well. If you've come to see the show, well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute treat to chat to you, and our Summer of Science is continuing. We've got more shows all around the UK for the next few months, with deadly beasts, with explosions, slimy experiments, geniuses as well, and stuff from outer space. If you would like to come along, well, you can do that. Find out where I'm playing near you. We've got all the tour dates. Grab a grown-up, head to funkidslive.com/tour. It's time for this week's Dangerous Dan, where we learn about the most weird, strange, unique and deadly things in the universe. And we're headed into the water, into fresh waters all around the world, to talk about a brilliant hunter with a painful bite. It's the giant water bug. It's nicknamed the toe biter. They grow to about 10 centimetres long with a flat oval body, 6 legs too. The ones at the front, they're very strong. They pull the prey in close. Normally they're brown or grey to blend in with the water that it hides in the lush vegetation. When it's got its prey, it clutches them close with those strong legs. It injects toxic juices into them which break down the food. It liquefies the tissue. The beast eats its prey alive. Then it will bite from its head with something that looks a bit like a needle. It's extremely painful, worse than a wasp sting. It's a brilliant hunter, the giant water bug, because it plays dead and then it suddenly strikes. And it's nicknamed the toe biter because it often nips at your feet with excruciating pain. It doesn't mean it, it's just if you step on it, it wants you to get away quickly, so it will bite. And with that painful bite, its digestive juices keeping beasts alive, and because it's so brilliant at hunting, it means the giant water bug goes straight onto our Dangerous Dan list. It's time for our Battle of the Sciences, where we discover the greatest, the strangest, the most unique and amazing sciences in the history of the universe, and we try to decide which is the best. This week, we're chatting to Carolyn Elliott from Harvard University, all about molecular and cell biology. Carolyn, you have 1 minute to tell us why it's the best science in the history of the world, and that minute starts in 3, 2, 1, go!
Well, we are all made of cells. We're all made of molecules. And my field is all about studying cells and molecules and how these give rise to all sorts of biological phenomena. You know, you, me, your dog, your cat. And it is really the modern way of science to look and think about how molecules and cells interact. We have all of the amazing techniques ranging from sequencing of DNA to CRISPR, which you've probably heard of. All sorts of exciting molecular biology is happening right now at this moment. Biotechnology is heavily reliant on molecular and cell biology. It is really sort of where biology is right now, and it is definitely the coolest science.
Now, I know, Carolyn, thank you for your minute, that you've used molecular and cell biology to kind of take your research into something quite strange and unique, almost with zombie flies and killer funguses. Can you just tell us all about how it's helped you look into these weird things and what you've learned?
Yeah, so we've known about the fungus that we study, which is called Entomoptera musci. I know it's a mouthful, but it is a fungus that specifically preys upon flies. So the little guys that are buzzing around your kitchen, that's what we're talking about. It is specific for flies, and we've known about it since the 1800s. But we've had pretty much no idea how this fungus does anything. And the way that we're using molecular biology in my lab is to actually start to finally understand how this fungus and the fly are interacting on a molecular and cellular level. And one of the most amazing things about this system is not just the fungus kills flies, but it actually turns them into zombies before the flies die. And by this, I mean that the fungus makes the flies behave in a way that flies would normally not act. And all of these behaviors are actually perfect for the fungus, which benefits from them. And so we're trying to understand all sorts of things around the system. But as you might imagine, one of the biggest questions we have is how the heck does the fungus actually change the behavior of the fly? And so a big part of our research is looking at the neurobiology underlying this phenomenon. And to do that, we can use all sorts of genetic tricks working in fruit flies to manipulate cells and manipulate molecules. And so we're really bringing sort of modern tools to bear on what's been a really long-standing mystery.
Just tell us about some of those modern tools. So what are you doing to kind of trick the biology, to look at the cells and the molecules, and how is that helping you understand why this fungus is doing this?
Yeah, so the fruit fly that is our host that we study in the lab for this fungus has this embarrassingly rich toolkit. And when I say toolkit, I mean genetic tools that people have engineered for the past about 100 years, this cumulative pile of basically things that we get to play with. And so when I say genetic tools, I'm talking about being able to specifically kill particular cells, or in the case of neurons, make them fire at will. We can make them fire just all the time, or we can use light or temperature or even other stimuli to drive them to fire at specific time points. We have a whole collection of mutants. So we have mutations available for most genes in the fly genome to try and understand how individual genes impact particular aspects of what we're studying. And then we also have the ability to drive gene knockdowns in specific tissues. So let's say we think that a gene X is important in the fly's nervous system for allowing the fly to show these weird behaviors that the fungus elicits. We can actually test that hypothesis pretty easily. And what's amazing about this, we call it Fly Amazon. We can go online and we can order these flies. We don't have to do anything more than click a button and they show up in our mailbox to use.
How is cell and molecular biology useful for us humans, and what's happening inside us? What type of things does a scientist like you research, and how does it improve our lives?
Yeah, I mean, the impacts of molecular and cell biology are just so far-reaching. I mean, I mentioned CRISPR at the outset, which I imagine you've discussed on this podcast before, but genetic engineering, being able to fix problems that are encoded in our DNA from the moment that we're born, is something that molecular biology is enabling. And I guess more broadly, using molecular approaches to look for what we call biomarkers as indicators that diseases are sort of in their early stages, to catch things like cancers early before they spread to the rest of our body, is incredibly powerful. And so there's just really 1,000,001 things that molecular biology, helps with as our human lives.
And we always finish these chats, Carolyn, in exactly the same way. If I were to throw you forward years and years and years towards the end of your career in science, what's the one question to do with molecular and cell biology that you would like answered? What do you want to know?
Oh man, that's a hard one. There's so many things I want to know. I guess, focusing in on this fungus that I'm so passionate about and really taking a zombie-centric view here. I want to know if the mechanism by which parasites broadly manipulate the behavior of their hosts is all basically variations on the same theme. That is to say, there's sort of one way that this is done, or if there are lots and lots of different ways of manipulating animal behavior.
Well, we've looked inside all different types of beings, the molecules and the cells. Thank you so much, Carolyn Elliott, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We've had quite a lot about space this week on the show, so let's head back there, shall we, and jump through a wormhole to Deep Space High, the smartest school in the solar system. We're joining Principal Pulsar and his class. They're travelling around space to the International Space Station that's orbiting Earth right now.
Deep Space High, marvellous missions with the Science and Technology Facilities Council. Jump into a wormhole and travel to Deep Space High, the school in because lessons are about to begin.
I always have this seat, and you're hogging the whole desk.
But I go all funny if I don't sit by the window.
Oi, oi, oi! Break it up and settle down. You lot, you're spoiled. Spoiled rotten. What with your comfy seats and artificial gravity keeping your feet on the ground, not everyone in space is as lucky. I said quiet! Thank you. This strikes me as the perfect opportunity to visit a lab that does an awful lot more than this class, and with a lot less. I mean, of course, the International Space Station that's orbiting around Earth.
I've seen it. Well, I saw it as a tiny dot moving across the sky. You know you can find out on the internet when it's passing and look out for it.
Yep, that's the one. Well, you're going to see it a lot closer than that because we're going to hop into the 7th dimension so we can pay them a visit. They won't even know that we're there. But any misbehaviour and I'll be leaving you in the 7th pigging dimension. Now, whilst I programme the navigator up, who can tell me anything else about the ISS?
Please, sir, me, sir.
Go ahead, Stats.
The International Space Station is designed to be an observatory, laboratory, and even a factory in space where Earth's astronauts can safely live and conduct experiments. The building of the station was started by the United States in November 1998, and today 15 countries are working together to build and man the station. Work that is set to continue until 2020 at least.
15 countries. You hear that? You lot don't seem to be able to get along, and there's only 10 of you. OK, 11 if I count your two heads blurp. Right, coordinates are accepted. Watch the screens all around you. We're here.
Ha! It looks like a right jumble of parts. Like a load of tin cans.
They're not tin cans. They're called modules. Some are labs, some are where the astronauts live, and some are a bit of both. That one's Zvezda. That has all the life support equipment. And round the back over there is Columbus. That's a very important research laboratory.
Whoa, what are those massive black sails?
Impressive, aren't they? They're the solar arrays, or solar panels. They convert sunlight into electricity to power the whole thing. After all, there aren't any pylons nearby, are there?
I suppose not. And what's that massive crane?
Glad you spotted that. It's the mobile servicing system. A robotic arm that is used to move supplies and help astronauts with the big jobs. Let's go inside. Even in the 7th dimension, it's parky out.
I'm not sure I'm going to like this. I get all funny when I'm squashed up, and it looks very small in there.
Pop your jacket off then. Here we go.
Oh, there's barely enough room for one person to travel through the sections, and what a mess. Why are there lumpy handles everywhere? I don't like this at all.
Human scientists have to make the most of every last inch of the space station. So if there's a space that doesn't have scientific equipment on it, you can bet it's used for something else, often storage. Those handles are to help the astronauts to pull themselves along. Look, here's one now. You see he's floating, but he's using the handles to pull himself along.
Why can't he see us? He just passed right through us.
I told you, we're in a different dimension. Actually, my mistake. That's a cosmonaut, not an astronaut. Cosmonauts are Russian astronauts. You get from 3 to 6 people up here at any one time, but in the future it might be more.
So what are they doing up here? What's all the equipment for?
They've carried out over 400 experiments up here, and most of them are trying to figure out how space affects things. Space is a very hostile environment, you see. You wouldn't know that because at Deep Space High we're light years ahead of these humans. Earth scientists hope that the more they learn, the more they can do, both in space and on the Earth.
Well, the classroom at Deep Space High is looking much more comfortable now.
I agree. You can have the window seat if you like, Alex.
OK, we're out of time, and we need to let these guys get on with their jobs without us clattering around the dimensional periphery. Back to base, everyone.
Deep Space High, marvellous missions with the Science and Technology Facilities Council.
And that is it for this week's Fun Kids Science Weekly. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week exploring more of the wonderful world and the universe everywhere. You just heard from Deep Space High. We've got loads more brilliant podcast series like that on Google, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your shows. You can find it on the free Fun Kids app and at funkidslive.com too. Take a look at our tour dates. See where I'm bringing Fun Kids Science Weekly live to a town, city, theatre near you, funkidslive.com/tour. And Fun Kids are our children's radio station from the UK. You can listen all around the country on our website, on the app too. And if you've got a smart speaker, wake it up and ask it to play Fun Kids.